Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Please Call Me Crazy, brought to you by Free People Radio and now powered by our first sponsor, TireGet.com. That's TireGet.com. You all have to buy tires from somebody. You might as well buy them from us and help fund the movement, help support the movement. We believe in the freedom of movement, and that's exactly what the establishment wants to take from you now. I'm your host, Royce White, and I am here in the belly of the beast, Minneapolis, Minnesota, for episode number 60. Episode number 60. We appreciate all of the new subscribers. We appreciate all of the listeners around the world and all of the viewers on all of the different platforms, whether that be Rumble. We are now up on Band.video. We have our own channel mirroring everything on the podcast here. We are backed up on BitChute, I believe. And we're also looking into Odyssey right now. We want to thank the War Room Posse. We want to thank the great Steve Bannon, Mo Bannon, and Grace Chong for their continued support and streaming the podcast live every episode on War Room's Getter page. We want to thank Getter for allowing people like myself to have a real um, real platform, a real platform that doesn't censor its people, doesn't censor its creators. So we thank them as well. We want to thank Real America's Voice. I think we're going to have a partnership pretty soon with Real America's Voice. We hope to, at least in the near future. We'll be rolling out a whole new set of varieties for the show and for the production in light of that partnership. So everything with the podcast is moving in the right direction. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to get you the content. We're going to continue to do everything we can to add to the dialogue and help the conversation, help write the course in the conversation and thus in our society. We got a quick out today, right around an hour. As a matter of fact, let me start this clock. Right around an hour today. And the whole episode today, the purpose of the episode today is one topic and one topic alone. Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump has been indicted by the Department of Justice or their collaborators for the Mar-A-Lago document raid and the documents that were found in Donald Trump's possession. And look, we could go into the details, but do the details really matter? I don't really want to talk about the details because the details don't necessarily matter in this instance. We know exactly what this is all meant to do. And everybody wants to, I don't want to say everybody. A lot of people want to take Donald Trump's personality, Donald Trump's flaws, Donald Trump's mistakes, Donald Trump's moments moments of poor judgment, let's say, and use them to justify why the establishment and the state is coming after him. To that I call bullshit. To that I call bullshit 100%. Every one of us out there, every one of us watching this, unless you happen to be the Messiah and Jesus Christ himself, in which case, praise be to you. We love you and we hope for your swift return and your mercy. And we appreciate your grace. Outside of Jesus Christ, the Messiah, um, all of you have sinned. All of you have mistakes. All of you have flaws. All of you have shortcomings. All of you have made poor decisions. All of us continue, and we not only have we will continue to make poor decisions in the future. That's not why the establishment is coming after Donald Trump. That's not why the establishment wants to get rid of Donald Trump. That's not why the establishment has now gone out of their way to show the blatant lawfare it plans to wage in order to suppress the truth, in order to stifle the American people and their understanding of governance that presides over them now, but the prospect and potential of self-governance that they should yearn for and long for, but also to stifle an America First movement. They're going out of their way. I mean, the lawfare is right there in your face. Even the great Rachel Maddow, the brains of the operation, the mouthpiece, the figurehead of the entire operation, comes right out on MSNBC and says, "Hey, it's not out of the question to do some type of quid pro quo prosecution if Donald Trump will but bow out of the presidential race in 2024. Then we may be able to have a favorable negotiation or prosecution in this particular indictment. And it's not the first indictment. He was indicted on the Stormy Daniels hush money. Jean Carroll, carried out her civil case, and they're just going to keep rolling it out. I mean, if anybody out there watching this has that sort of cuck-like coward mentality, where there's smoke, there must be fire. You want to be a slave. It's not lost on me that some people would choose bondage over freedom. Freedom comes at a high cost. The price of freedom is death, Thomas Jefferson. The price of freedom is death. Thomas Jefferson, reiterated by the great Malcolm X during his lifetime, during his ministry. Freedom comes at a steep price. Some people, increasingly more people, have selected for slavery, bondage. First, it was chattel slavery, right? It was labor slavery. It was actual bondage slavery. Then it was wage slavery that lasted for about 80 years. And now they want to go to full-blown dystopian, totalitarian, technocratic, artificial intelligent, psychological slavery, drugs and video games. And there's a few people that are standing in the way. There's a few people that have the spine or the balls to say, this is wrong, this isn't right, enough is enough. To even ask the question, what are we doing? Are we sure? Are we sure this is what we want? Even the question itself, even the audacity to ask the question itself is regarded as an act of domestic terrorism. And that's why you can go to my episode from last night where I covered the Grand Master himself of globalism, Zbigniew Brzezinski. Daddy Zbigniew is the forefather of the Trilateral Commission and also someone who all but instituted the foreign policy that we still are beholden to today, which is a globalist foreign policy. I said it last night. The whole goal was to break America of its self-sufficiency because a strong America is a strong nation that believes in freedom. But even underneath that, it's a nation that believes that their freedom is granted to them by God, by a creator, that their rights are inalienable. And the globalist establishment means to alienate you of your rights, right? But Daddy Zbigniew was one of the forefathers of the whole deal. And I posted the episode and right there, I mean, right as the episode was uploaded and they ran their checks, they gave a context notification underneath the title from the Britannica Encyclopedia. I talk about the Crown a lot, and it's funny that the Britannica is regarded as this authoritative source of information because obviously all history runs through the Crown, right? That's a joke, but in all seriousness, what was funny about it is that they gave you the context from the encyclopedia, and the context says exactly what I said in the episode. I mean, it didn't refute anything I said at all or claim that it was false, which they are starting to do now. They are starting to just say, hey, our fact checkers. I saw this on Instagram. I was scrolling through and there was this, I came to a video or a reel and there was this blacked out screen over it with a little notification that said false or, our fact checkers or click more. This content has been reviewed or whatever. And it says, our fact checkers have fact checked this, and then this is what this really means, or this is what really happened, so on and so forth. So they are starting to actually try and refute and debunk things they deem to be a conspiracy theory or misinformation. But last night they just told you who the Trilateral Commission is because some institutions are too big to lie to you now. Some institutions are far too big to lie to you now, but that's not the American justice system. No. That's not the Democrat Party. That's not the Department of Justice. That's not the Biden administration. They're not too big to lie to you now. They'll lie right to your face. They'll lie right to your face. They'll come right out in front of you and tell you that the Ukraine war is all about upholding democracy and the Ukraine being its own independent nation. And at the same time, they'll tell you that Donald J. Trump isn't the target of any selective prosecution or any political prosecution. He isn't the target of any greater political agenda, any political agenda that extends beyond this nation's borders. He isn't the target of anybody. He isn't the opponent or the enemy of any global institutions, any institutions of global governance, or any secret societies of global agendas. No, he's not on their radar. Why would they care about him? Why would they care about him? He's nobody. But they've commissioned all of their resources. They've commissioned all of their people. They've commissioned all of their reputation. They've put their entire reputation on the line to go after this one man. Why? Why? If not afraid, if he's not a threat, if he's not dangerous, if he doesn't know something that could compromise their control, that could compromise their authority, that could compromise their rule, that could compromise their order, their new world order. Why? Why are they spending so much time to go after him? Because they really want to uphold justice. I mean, come on, if you believe that you are going to be a slave, you're already a slave psychologically if you believe that, but you're going to end up a real slave physically in the real world, and you're going to get a gulag number, and you deserve it. I mean, that's just the reality. And this is the stray from faith. This is the stray from discernment and the ability to be able to see the world for what it really is by asking God to give you that vision, by hoping that or praying, I should say, not hoping. You can hope, but I would pray, praying that God will give you the ability to see things for what they really are. To seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. One of them is the vision, the discernment, to be able to discern what the truth is here in the physical world. If you believe that they're going after Donald Trump just because they want to uphold justice and the law, then you're either in on it or you're astoundingly stupid. And people will say, hey, don't call people stupid. People aren't stupid. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. I mean, yes and no. Come on, this is out. This is blatant. This is far and beyond blatant. I take you back to Hillary Clinton. The defining moment for me with Donald Trump, and one of the reasons why, despite all of the disagreement with some of the people that he chose or some of the people he was connected to or some of the policies that he went soft on, despite all of that, one of the key moments that I can look back on now and have a great deal of admiration for Donald Trump is the debate with Hillary Clinton. And at the time, the taxes, the tax disclosure was a huge issue for the mainstream media. This was how they were going to go after Donald Trump. They were going to go after his reputation as a businessman and his tax history and so on and so forth. He's nothing but a two-bit crook, right, who made it way up the ladder because daddy gave him some money, the whole narrative, blah, 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 right? Like Hillary Rodham Clinton is any different. The Ivy League crop she comes from, she's got the biggest silver spoon in her mouth, a bigger silver spoon in her mouth than anybody else out there on the field. And Donald Trump went straight to attack that. And not in attacking that, he actually attacked the entire mainstream political establishment. He actually attacked the way with which the entire political industry works in America. He went right to the heart of it. And he said, yeah, I used the tax loops. Yeah, absolutely I did. I know the tax code. And so should every other American use the tax loops. And so did all of your donors. So did all of your donors. All of your donors used the same tax loops that I did. And there's something profoundly humble about that and righteous about that. Now, even though Donald Trump did it in Donald Trump fashion, where he was flipping and kind of sarcastic and mocking Hillary Clinton in a very entertaining way, there was a mea culpa in there. And this is what makes Donald Trump a transformative leader. This is what makes the establishment afraid of Donald Trump, because he will, in certain cases, mea culpa. You're right. I did do that. But I learned it from you all. We shared in it together. We shared in it together. I saw it because I was once one of you. Yeah, I used the tax code. Yeah, my attorneys did everything they could to get me all the tax breaks they could. Absolutely. But so did all of you. And it's the same thing that's come, now it's starting to um, make its way out into the social media world, where Donald Trump, there's this one clip of Donald Trump saying, hey, all of these Democrats used to love me. All of these Democrats, they used to love me. They used to call and ask me for money. They had me to meet their children. They had me in their home. As soon as I decide to run Republican, I'm enemy number one. Mea culpa. He did it again. Mea culpa. Yeah, I was involved with these people. I supported some of them. I was friends with some of them. I did dealings with some of them. I funded some of them. I gave them money. I donated to some of them. I have personal relationships with some of them. None of that's going to stop me from telling the truth now, and that's what makes him so dangerous. That's what makes him so dangerous. That's what has brought the animus towards him that he now has to fight off. It's not that they have this profound sense of righteousness and justice. And something that really bothers me is the Democrats and the liberals in this country that are willing to go into the public square, go before the public on social media or wherever, and try to claim that they're okay with this selective prosecution, with this political prosecution, in the interest of justice or fairness or equal application of the law, shows us something about who they really are. I'm sick of saying that these people have been tricked or brainwashed. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Enough. Like Don Lemon would say, we have to just start condemning some of these people. Let's do that in reverse. We're condemning you, Don Lemon. We're condemning you, Rachel Maddow. We're condemning you, Joy-Ann Reid and Joy Behar and Sonny Hodge and all of you. We're condemning you. Because the reality is we know it's not about justice or fairness or equal application of the law or the rule of law, because you're totally fine with all of your Democrat and liberal friends, all of your Democrat and liberal politicians breaking whatever law they need to execute the agenda, breaking whatever law they need to get the final result they want, to get the final result you want, to get the final result you support. And this was the great contradiction of the Black Lives Matter protests and the COVID lockdowns and the mandates and the reports of COVID, spreading through MAGA protests or MAGA demonstrations or MAGA rallies. But conveniently in the BLM rallies, COVID didn't spread. I mean, how stupid do you think we are? And even furthermore, what kind of society do you think that we could build on top of lies? The arrogance of it. The arrogance of it that you think you can lie your way to victory and that there'll be no moral consequences. There'll be no unintended consequences of building a new society on top of lies. The arrogance of that. It's astounding. It shows, it proves, it justifies the extreme spiritual rejection that many Americans have to this uniparty, this mainstream media industrial complex, this elite political class. It explains the level of the extremeness with which people are now at. And what makes it even more sick is it almost seems like you're driving them there on purpose. It almost seems like you mock us with this contradiction and these lies on purpose, like you're trying to provoke that extreme response. And there's proof to that effect. There's proof to that effect. And I hate to go men and women. I hate to bring it to a man versus woman thing, but this ideology is certainly of a feminist variety, if not being led and manipulated on the back end behind the curtain by radical feminists, then radical feminists are certainly being used to clear the path, being used to lead the way. Have you ever been in an argument with a woman who's lost an argument, a woman who knows that she's wrong, a woman who um, has run out of ways to express her frustration, a woman who has run out of ways um, to bite back at a man who she wants to bite back at? If you ever seen this dynamic, women will often resort to trying to provoke the man into physical violence. Why? Because she knows, despite her feminist ideology, that the cultural and social hierarchy, the cultural and social norm of America still to this day is that men and women aren't equal. And they certainly aren't equal when it comes to physical contact. They certainly aren't equal physically. And certain women will try and provoke men into physical conflict, into physical confrontation, into some type of physical dispute. I mean, all of you out there who don't know this, haven't seen this, or don't understand this, or don't believe this, I know that you're not really fit to, you're certainly not fit to really understand the dynamic of what's going on here at a higher existential metaphysical level. But you haven't even been out and about enough to really have a say so in the matters to come. This is a thing that women do often. And I say it because the feminization of our society, the strategic feminization of our society through these cuck beta male men who are in power, who want to stand right directly behind the shooter, right? What's the safest place when you're in front of when faced with the lone gunman is directly behind him, directly behind her. In this case, is directly behind her. And the beta male cucks have wound up the feminist movement, and they've set the feminist movement off. And now the entire the entire uh the entire MO, the entire psychology of the movement has taken on this feminine quality. And with Donald J. Trump and with the entire MAGA movement, it's a provocation. With teaching the kids LGBTQism at the grade school level, at the elementary school level, at the kindergarten level, it's a provocation. By arresting Christians out there on the street on camera for simply exercising their freedom of speech around their Christian faith, it's a provocation. This is a very feminine quality. Now, what has protected women, what has protected women in this dynamic is the law, the rule of law. The rule of law that has always conceded that there is a fundamental difference between men and women. That's why men get more severe charges for acts of violence towards women. That's why men are treated differently when the cops come and there's been a dispute between men and women. There's a clear and distinct difference between men and women when it comes to the equal application of the law. It's not equal. The law itself is not equal. The rule of law here in the United States of America, the rule of law that so many of these liberals and Democrats use to justify, now to try and justify this political targeting of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, the entire rule of law has a clear distinction between men and women in the application of it. Now it's time to provoke. Now it's time to provoke. We've run out of options. We've run out of options. So now we're going to use the combination. We're going to give you the combination pack. We're going to give you the combo pack. Not only are we going to weaponize the narrative, not only are we going to weaponize the media, not only are we going to be contradictory in our application of information versus misinformation, not only are we going to be contradictory in our policy, now we're going to go straight to the punch, straight to the punchline. We're going to cut straight to the chase. The law itself. We're going to use the law itself to go after Donald Trump. We're going to use the law itself to try and undermine the meaning of freedom, inalienable rights granted to you by a creator, a government of we the people. We're going to use the law to try and provoke all out civil unrest. We have to really think about the implications of this now. An establishment that's willing to provoke, an establishment that is not stupid by any means, an establishment that is willing to provoke its citizens, a government that's willing to provoke its citizens at that level, at that fundamental level, in that fundamental way. An establishment that's willing to do that must have a great deal of confidence that all the people they need to maintain order will actually maintain that order. Who are we talking about? The police, the sheriffs, the National Guard, the Army, the military, if need be, and whoever else up and down the line, the security agencies, the security state, the State Department, the list goes on and on and on. These political elites, these financial elites, these corporate elites have a great deal of faith that you all, wherever you may be, whatever position you may hold now, will carry out the agenda that they've set forth. That you don't have the will to reject it, that you don't have the sense of righteousness to sacrifice yourself, your own ambitions, your own life in the pursuit of freedom, in the pursuit of justice, in the pursuit of faith, in the pursuit of God and heaven. They don't believe. It's almost like a test. And at that level, when you get down to that level of the philosophical consideration, of the metaphysical consideration, we are talking about the greatest test in human history. Can science and technology completely detach mankind from God? Can man, of his own volition, reject God completely? That's the choice we've been given now. No, the high is too good. The tech is too good. The convenience is too good. The connection is too good. It's all too good for you people to choose anything different. It's all too good for you people to choose faith, to choose God, for you to even choose freedom. The high is too good for you to choose freedom. Some people would, if you've never known a crack addict or a heroin addict or a meth addict or any type of narcotic, any type of narcotic addict, if they had a clear if they had a clear path, if they had a clear route, uh, if they had some assurance that giving up their freedom and going to jail would mean a pipeline to dope, a pipeline to the high, they'll choose jail. A drug addict will choose jail if it means they believe they can get their fix. A drug addict will choose confinement. A drug addict will choose bondage. A drug addict would choose slavery. A drug addict would choose pain, degradation. A drug addict will choose to dehumanize themselves if it means they can get a fix. And this is exactly what the government played out with MK Ultra and other classified operations like it. Some of them weren't even classified, right? The rats and the dopamine, the cocaine, the rat experiment, where they set up the electrocution option for the rat to be able to get the high, the dopamine hit or the cocaine, and the rat would actually electrocute itself to death. The rat in the experiment had so little willpower, so little understanding of its eventual fate, that it would choose the short-term gratification, the short-term payoff of dopamine or drugs, before its own life, before the pain, and the pain led to death. the rat would electrocute itself to death. Not only electrocute itself one time, like, hey, I'm willing to take the risk in order to get that cheese this one time. I'll take the risk. No, it didn't stop. It couldn't stop itself. And that's where we are as a society today. They believe all of you will buy whatever lie they tell, will buy whatever lie they sell you, will buy whatever lie they give you for free, really. They're not even selling it to you. You'll believe whatever lie about Donald J. Trump or Alex Jones or Steve Bannon or Jason Whitlock or Kyrie Irving or Kanye West or Royce White, or you pick somebody, doesn't matter. You'll believe whatever the establishment tells you about these individuals so you can look away from the fact that something is gravely wrong here. That's what they're banking on. That's what they're counting on. That's what they think of you. You'll buy whatever lie they're selling. You'll take whatever lie they give you, as long as it means that you can continue to look away from the uncomfortable and inconvenient truth of the establishment and the government that presides over you. Donald Trump, that's an easy one. But Donald Trump has shown resilience. The message of Donald Trump, the authenticity of Donald Trump, the willingness to mea culpa from Donald Trump has yielded a grassroots movement that just won't give up. A grassroots movement that just won't yield, a grassroots movement that just won't fold, a grassroots movement that is based in faith, that is based in the fundamental faith in God and the fundamental faith in the idea of true freedom. The freedom to walk around the streets in latex leather, handcuffed and leashed by your dominatrix madam while she whips you in front of the general public. You know, not that kind of freedom. I mean, you're free to do that, sure, fine. Would it be okay for me to walk out in the street right now butt naked? Would it be okay for me to walk out in the street completely naked? Of course not. But we're not talking about that kind of freedom. We're talking about the freedom as it's spelled out in the Constitution and this entire civil rights movement that has used black people to, chart the course. Use black people as the justification and the excuse to use identity politics to say every little nuance and diversion of the norm is where freedom really lies. But at the same time, we want democracy. We want a consensus. Well, can you have both? Well, I'm sure you can if the tyrants get to dictate what the consensus is. Then the nuances start to not matter. Like, for example, women needing to be protected by men. Men should stand up and protect women. The society should protect women, but we're going to let men who say they're women get into a cage and fight women for money. The small nuances start to not matter. And they start to not matter very quick, and it tells you very quick who this establishment is. And even furthermore, it tells you about the people who follow them. It tells you something about the people who follow them. Everybody would like to believe, there's this information that people just don't see. There's this information that people just don't have that could allow them to come into the movement. Not at mass. Not at mass. I was already predisposed to make a natural jump from a culturally Democrat worldview to an America first nationalist populist worldview. I was already predisposed for that. Grew up Catholic. Grew up in a community of black militant men who anti-establishment already, right? Came up through the corporatocracy, fought the NBA, saw the global elite, saw how they think, saw how they act, heard what they said that they will never tell you in public, because their little PR companies make all their public statements. And that's why every time one of them gets in front of the camera, they have real tough time saying anything off the cuff. And the best among them can actually memorize the speeches and the talking points they were given from their PR masters, from their PR experts, and make it sound like it's natural. That's Barack Obama, which is why every few sentences he has to pause for 3 seconds. And you think that makes him a great speaker, but people like me knows it makes him a fucking coward and a complete fraud. But these are the things you'll buy. I was already predisposed. Natural jump to an America First nationalist populist worldview. And there are many people out there who are predisposed, who can be shown the truth and will come into the movement. And there's more coming into the movement every day. But what we need to stop doing is catering our message to the masses. Cater them to the masses. No, everybody, but no, some people like slavery. Some people like slavery. Some people like bondage. Some people will choose to be electrocuted in order to get the high that they're looking for, just like those rats in the experiment. There's great biological substance to that personality type, to that psychological, that psychology. Some people will choose death. Maybe it's a slow death. Maybe it's not an immediate death. Some people hate themselves. Some people want to die. Some people can't deal with the despair and the angst of existence itself. Some people would much rather live in this ignorant bliss where they can turn on CNN or they can read the headlines from the New York Times and be told who the bad guys are, who the enemies are, and continue on with their day that has zero substance whatsoever. Yeah, they're living in the Matrix. And I don't say that because my television persona with Fearless with Jason Whitlock is Morpheus. I don't say that to reference the Matrix. The further and further we go, the more and more we see, the more and more that is uncovered. We are living in the Matrix. Whether a metaphorical description or a literal one. We are living in a type of matrix. It's clear. It's clear. There are people who actually believe that we're in the Ukraine to uphold democracy. And all it takes them is 3 clicks. All it would take them is 3. What's funny about it is in the Matrix, right? I mean, you had to go deep to see the truth. I mean, before Neo ever got to the red pill, before Neo ever got to the choice of the red pill, he had been on this, this sort of underground journey to find this information. He had an inkling, right? He had an intuition, a gut feeling, and then he made contact with Trinity, and then Trinity tells him to follow the white rabbit, and then he follows the white rabbit, and then they come and get him, and then he doesn't believe still. He still wants to go back to his normal life. But then the agents come, because now once you've been exposed to the truth, now you're a threat, right? And we're coming to neutralize the threat. And so the agents come and they sit him down and they put the, they have the whole scene where his mouth is shut, that the skin starts to mold together in his mouth so he can't talk, and he panics and he can't breathe, and they put the thing in his stomach and he thinks it was all a dream. And then he finally gets with Morpheus and these guys, and they got to pull the tracker. Really what it was a tracker, right? They pull the tracker out of his stomach, out of his belly button, and then they unjack him from the Matrix, and then they got to jack him back into the Matrix to show him the truth, the red pill. Right? Huge process. What I'm saying is, in the movie itself, you had to go deep in order to find the truth. In this version of the Matrix, you don't even have to go that deep. You don't got to go deep. It's not hidden. There's no grand illusion. The illusion are the people themselves. The illusion are the people themselves that walk around every day and act like they really care about things like equality, justice, freedom, love, peace, the truth, so on and so forth. That's the grand illusion. The people themselves who are NPCs, these people are bots. These people are a genetic anomaly. No, they're not the anomaly. They're the genetic constant that is meant to buffer against those of us that have real faith and believe in God or believe in the truth even. There are some people out there who don't want the truth. There are some people out there who can't handle the truth. There's some people out there who don't understand the truth. And then there are some people out there who just like the high. And the whole experiment of the establishment up until this point, after World War II, the whole experiment of the establishment is to try and bolster the potency of technology and psychological brainwashing to a point where the truth no longer matters to a wide chunk of people, a wide mass of people. We're there. We're there. Even the people who say they believe in the truth, what are they willing to really do on behalf of it? And that's what I'm here to talk to you today about. Donald J. Trump, willing to do something with the truth. That we can say with certainty. There is a man who's willing to do something with the truth that he knows. And he's seen secret documents. He's seen secret documents, and now the establishment wants to come and take him out. And that doesn't send up red flags for anybody. That doesn't send up red flags for any of you people in the middle, any of you independents, any of you people who are on the fence, any of you people who are starting to see the hypocrisy and contradiction of this agenda and movement. That doesn't send up red flags. Even if you don't like Donald Trump, I know some of you in the middle are all pro DeSantis. Some of you in the middle are all, how do we win the election? Some of you Republicans that are really fucking Democrats are all, well, Donald Trump just isn't electable. I know some of you still need more proof. Doesn't it send up huge red flags that the president of the United States, who is one of the most controversial in this nation's history, by far one of the most controversial, in the top three. I mean, Kennedy got his head blown off, so I mean, he would probably be numero uno. And then just by way of bringing about the entire New World Order and the security state that supports it, Bush would probably be up there as well. Little Bush, not Big Bush. Big Bush was the puppeteer. I mean, Little Bush sending us over the hill into Afghanistan and Iraq, and the Patriot Act. I mean, sine qua non of giving your rights up. It's the Patriot Act. But he's up there. Donald Trump is up there with most controversial presidents. Tricky Nixon is another one. Roosevelt. Anyway, point is, Donald Trump's right up there. Doesn't it send up red flags to anybody at home that this man has verbally and publicly and verbally waged a war against the administrative state and the security state and the global institutions who preside over us? And he had secret documents that had information that was classified. And now they want to come clip him? I mean, let's take COVID out of it. Let's take gain-of-function research out of it. Let's take Wuhan virology labs out of it. Let's take China's dominance over the World Health Organization out of it. Let's take the party of Davos and all these strange World Economic Forum type meetings and all the weird transhuman AI, robotic, fourth industrial revolution shit they say. Let's take all of that out of it. Let's just write ourselves a suspense novel. The sitting president, the former president, now running for president again, of the United States of America, has seen secret documents with classified information, and in one fell swoop, alongside much other selective and political prosecution, the establishment, the Department of Justice, and the Biden administration now wants to come and take him out. 37 counts. And they want to tell you that he's the first president to do this? They want to make it seem as though he's the first president to do this, to keep classified documents? When they all know, that every president keeps classified documents, has kept classified documents. This isn't a mystery. This isn't hard to find. They might be cloning people already. They may have gotten a head start on us. They may have the jump on us. Because to believe this, you have to be so stupid. I don't know. Maybe they're putting something in the water. Maybe Alex Jones is more right than we could have ever imagined. I don't know now. The shit is getting spooky because I can't square how anybody would believe that this is an equal application of the law. Not to say that Donald Trump may have not done something wrong. Not to say that Donald Trump may have not been in accordance with every single legal protocol that goes into place. Not to say any of that. To say that the choice to prosecute him in this way is a direct result from the animus from the political elites that see him as a threat. And nobody else, the wide masses of American citizens don't see this. Donald Trump's personality, his personality flaws are so grave, so great that you'll overlook your government targeting individuals? Really? And I'm supposed to believe that these people haven't been putting stuff in the water or putting stuff in the psychiatric medication or putting stuff out in the air or putting stuff in the food? Or maybe they're just outright cloning these people. I'm supposed to believe they're already creating 3D printed fish. I'm supposed to believe that these people aren't bots? How? How can I believe that? The level of stupidity is so great. It's hard for me to believe it. It's hard for me to comprehend it. It actually gives me some level of anxiety. Because you walk around, I mean, most people leave the house every day and they're so fixated on their own existence, their own life, their own troubles, their own trials and tribulations. They're so fixated on their own ambitions, right, that they barely take the time to look at other people. I'm always somebody who always observed other people. I always observe other people, which is why I was, psych, political science in school. Fascinating. History, psychology, political science. Always looking at other people, always watching, always observing. And for the life of me, I leave the house in the morning and I can't help but think to myself, what the fuck are all these people thinking? What the fuck are they all thinking? I mean, besides what they say on Facebook and Twitter and wherever else they are, YouTube comments, whatever else, I don't know. What are these people actually thinking? What do they think about? I would like to get a real sense of what people think about. Really. I mean, I know social media has given us great insight into what people think, but I want to really, really get an accounting of what people are thinking. I'm not willing to Neuralink you and brain chip you to get that accounting, that's for sure. I'm not willing to mine your data and violate the privacy of your digital footprint to understand those thoughts. But the establishment is. And I bring it up to say, the establishment has mathematically found a way, has culturally, has socially, has technologically found a way to start to map out your thoughts, at least in some general sense. And from that mapping, you all have become drones to a technocracy. You think your thoughts are your own. You still live under the illusion that your thoughts are your own. They're not your own anymore. You're not telling yourself what to think anymore. You're not authentic. You're not original. The shit you say isn't original. The shit you do isn't original. The shit you wear isn't original. The worldview you have isn't original. Manufactured consent. Noam Chomsky was talking about this 30 years ago. And I'm not hailing Noam Chomsky. I'm just saying there was a time in this country when the liberals were the ones who were warning about this. Manufacturing consent. Now, you can make the argument that Noam Chomsky lost that battle, and then he sold out because the neocons told the Democrats who sat underneath them, yeah, you can talk all that, but here's how things really work. People want security, and they want security so they can get high. They want security so they can do what they want. They want security so they can pursue their own selfish desires, their own grandiose idea of their own life. This is what came after World War II. And then in Vietnam, you had a moment. Then in civil rights, you had a moment where these movements tried to say, hey, wait, there's something wrong with the way we're doing this. And at that very moment, the Marxists and the communists came in, failed. They swooped in and they perverted the entire impetus of the movements. The movement is to have freedom. The movement is to have the truth, be able to walk out there on the streets and walk around freely without the fear of prosecution from the government, from the establishment, from the corporate interests, from the special interests. The goal is to be able to live in relative safety. The goal is to be able to live with some resemblance of justice in the community. The goal is to be able to speak out against tyrants who rise into power and plan to enslave or bully anybody who opposes them. Donald J. Trump, the greatest opposition in American history, not controlled opposition. We don't know that to be true. Could be in the end. I don't know. But everything we see today, everything we can measure now, is that the establishment will spare no cost in money, no cost in reputation, more importantly. They will spare no cost of their reputation to try and take this man out. I'm not even the biggest fan of Donald Trump. I'm supporting him in 2024 to the max because I understand what he represents and I respect and admire what he's done. I don't have to like you personally to follow you. I don't have to like you. This isn't a fucking popularity contest. This isn't a fucking high school. This isn't a fucking junior high. I don't care what kind of shoes you wear. I don't care what the other kids at the lunch table say about you. I don't care what the cool kids have gotten together and conspired to sort of keep you down the social ladder. That shit doesn't matter to me. And it shouldn't matter to anybody who's real out there. I don't give a fuck about what Donald Trump has done that isn't pure Christianity, that isn't pure nationalist. All I know is that the most corrupt people in our society today have all banded together to try and take this man out. And they want to use his personal flaws to justify it. And you all out there are so riddled with guilt, your own resent, your own self-doubt, your own self-loathing, that you're willing to accept the story about mistakes and flaws to undermine freedom and justice for yourself. And I'm supposed to follow you? I'm supposed to listen to you? Fuck you people. Fuck off. You people don't have a problem with the corruptness of Donald Trump. You people don't have a problem with the flaws of Donald Trump. You have a problem with where he's righteous. You can't fool me. Prove me wrong. You all don't have a problem with the mistakes Donald Trump has made. You have a problem with where he has been righteous. You have a problem with where he has risen to the occasion and risen above the corruption and the wickedness of our society and spoken the uncomfortable and inconvenient truth that many of you are afraid to speak. That's what you have a problem with. That doesn't mean Donald Trump doesn't have mistakes and flaws and all of that in him. That doesn't negate it. It doesn't absolve it. We don't have the power to absolve sin. We have the power to repent. We have the power to ask for forgiveness. Only God has the power to absolve sin. Only his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, has the power to absolve sin. And the church that Jesus left to the world to bind and loose what it will. As is told in the Bible, in the conversation between Jesus and the apostles. So yeah, Donald Trump has tons of flaws. My only point is that's not what you have a problem with. All of his flaws, all of his mistakes, the locker room talk, the grab him by the pussy, that's a reflection of the society we live in. A clear reflection of the society we live in. You don't want a president who says grab him by the pussy in private. But you'll take a feminist-led ideology and movement that puts a dog leash on overweight white men in latex leather and marches them around in the street like pets. Sex slaves. Saw a black girl online the other day say sex work doesn't only involve sex. Dominatrixes, can make money from just, whatever it is that they do. I don't even know how to describe it, really. That's the real abomination. Your sex slavery. Tell me how feminists can complain that they have been the victims of tyrannical patriarchy for so long of the modern era, and now the result is, the remedy is, the solution is to allow any manner of sexual perversion that is dominated or led by women. That's how women think. And you can say that's not how women think, but the proof is in the pudding. Where is the feminist movement that is speaking out against the dominatrix movement within the feminist ranks? Where is the feminist movement that is speaking out against the men who are fighting in cages with women? See, because when you actually grow up observing people, you realize that women get together when it's advantageous for them, but when it's not advantageous for them, they're the most ruthless and brutal towards each other. They're more ruthless and brutal towards each other than any man could possibly hope to achieve. I grew up in a high school and a junior high. I mean, it's the same thing. All of our psychological science comes from the observation of adolescence. Women are ruthless and brutal towards one another. Ruthless and brutal. And they will conspire to ruin the reputation of another woman at the drop of a dime. And they will use a man to do it. I've seen it thousands of times. Thousands of times. And they'll throw a woman under the bus if there's a man whose reputation they want to ruin. The drop of a dime. All of you feminists out there hate Melania Trump. Is she not a woman? Because she's a woman who doesn't agree with you, or because she's a woman who's married to a man who you don't agree with, now her woman status isn't protected? Who do you think you're fooling? And furthermore, why are all of you fucking men following along with this bullshit? Is the pussy that good? I'll say it to you. See, because I'm going to run for office regardless. You can either get down with the real and people who tell the truth, or you can follow these fuckers into the gulag. I don't have any time for the pleasantries. Why are you following this shit? All of you men out there, why are you following this? These people do not offer you anything other than short-term gratification. Sure, you want to have sex with them. Sure, you want to have intimacy from them and comfort, and you want to have interaction with them. Sure, fine. Do you think the only way to do that is through this submissive role that men have taken in our society? And in the submission, this illogical and irrational, contradictory, hypocritical ideology? Is this the only way that you can get sex? Have women really strangled you, strangled your mind to the point where the only way you think you can have sexual success out here is to follow this bullshit? Or is it deeper than that? Are you actually using the women to cling to power out of your own self-doubt, your own ability to rise up and become an alpha in your small part of the world? Have you conceded the strength it takes to become an alpha, accepted the beta position because it comes with the perks of the female intimacy? You fucking people are sellouts. If you let them try and tell you they have a problem with Donald Trump because of his flaws and moral character, when they have a moral ledger with as much blood and blackness as anybody in human history, I know who you are. I know who they are. But if you allow them to do that, I know who you are. if Donald J. Trump ends up in prison, he should still run for president of the United States, and we should elect him president of the United States with a conviction from a prison cell. That would speak to a people who understand the agenda, who understand the game, who understands what it means to be righteous, despite what the establishment wants to tell you, despite what the establishment wants to sell you, despite what the establishment wants to feed you and shove in your arm and put in your ear and give to your children. That would show a nation that understands the fight that they're in with an enemy that goes well beyond the physical world. This has been another episode of Please Call Me Crazy, brought to you by Free People Radio and now powered by TireGet.com. Don't die jerk off. The fight continues. We send our support from Free People Radio to Donald Trump and his fight against these corrupt and tyrannical policies, these corrupt and tyrannical kangaroo courts, and you know, we wish him protection during this time and his entire family, because we're getting to that place. We are right there. We're right there right now. This isn't the play around chapter. This is the get down chapter. We're getting right down to it. And all of you should be in the streets. I don't give a fuck about your corny, the BLM. Let the BLM people protest. Protesting doesn't do anything. No, you rebuke and refute, you 501c3 Christians, you 401k boomers. You only have a little bit longer to live anyway. Don't die having not spoken up and protested against the mess that you created. Get your old fucking ass out there in the street. I don't care how you do it. Get your old fucking ass up off the couch out there in the street and condemn this nonsense. Condemn this tyranny. This is not the way of America. This is not the way of a free people. This is not the way that our founding fathers wrote down in the Bill of Rights or the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. This is not who we are. All you young people out there, you don't have anything better to do. Where's Turning Point? All these young people, why are we not in the streets? There should be protests every single day until the threat of nuclear war has been averted. Through the consensus of the people, we will not support this war, just like in Vietnam. We will not support a war that is not aimed at the security and prosperity and freedom of the American people or the interest of our economy or our way of life. We will not support this war, and we will not allow the courts and the same justice system you all said was guilty as hell when George Floyd died. We will not allow them to play political games and target their opponents. We cannot allow it. It's not American. The fight continues. Godspeed.